Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! Today I have for you a simple sketch card, but it's one that has a lot of opportunity for you. There are ways to dress it up, there are ways to mass produce it very quickly, and hopefully I'll explain it a lot better on this video than I did on my Facebook video of the same subject. So here's the card. The original idea was inspired by a sketch from stampinpretty.com. There was another demonstrator that shared it and I saw it. And the great thing about being part of this demonstrator community is we do copy and share everything. And I've done similar cards to this in the past, but this one was a little different size-wise, measurement-wise, etc. And I realized that it has the opportunity to be mass-produced pretty easily, and we'll get into that later. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you how to take this card and then dress it up a little bit, and then we'll go from there. So the first thing we're going to need is a card base. You can use whichever style of card base you like. A lot of demonstrators refer to the long skinny one as the hot dog, which is the 4 1/4 by 11 piece of cardstock. This is the hamburger, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, and it's scored down the middle at 4 1/4. Sorry, the math started running together in my head and I was trying to remember if I said that correctly. All right, so I'm going to fold this and then set it to the side for now. Next up, I'm going to find my cardstock panel that I want to put on the front. So my base is petal pink. I opted for crumb cake to coordinate with my designer series paper. This is 4 1/4 inches tall and 3 inches wide. So next up, we need 4 pieces of designer series paper. You need 1 piece each of 4 different prints. So I'm going to hold this a little closer to the camera so you can see it if you're taking pictures. I am also going to post a picture of this on my Facebook page. You can find me on Facebook as the Faithful Stamper. So you need 1 piece of each of these sizes, different prints. So you could, I guess, potentially do 2 and 2 prints if you only had 2 prints of paper. I used 4 for all of these though. So we are going to go with the first piece. I'm trying to coordinate with my measurements in order. So we're going to go with a piece that is 1 inch wide and 2 1/2 inches tall. And then just moving down my list, the next piece is 1 3/4 inches wide by 1 1/2 inches tall. And I'm going to put these down as I'm talking and try to put them in the right order. I kind of dubbed this card as the card of many mistakes on my Facebook video. I was making mistakes before I went live on my Facebook video, and they just kind of snowballed, but it was okay. I didn't have to throw anything out. So I'll touch base on that a little bit as we go, but there's room for error with this card, which is always good. All right, so next up, 1 inch wide by 1 1/2 inch tall. There we go. So basically it's like putting together a puzzle. And then last but not least, 1 3/4 inches wide by 2 1/2 inches tall. So just like this. I like to lay out my prints to kind of get an idea for how I'm going to put things together. I'll touch base about those measurements again later when I explain how we are going to how you can mass produce some cards. Okay, so no special adhesive needed for this, just whatever your favorite is. Now, as you will note, the pieces I've staggered so that the tallest pieces are on opposing corners. So I give myself a narrow border around the edge and then try to just make sure my paper is square. And so my tall piece is at the top. I'm going to use the thinner but tall piece slid down next to it. If you happen to do what I did frequently and glue it together side by side, don't panic. You haven't ruined it. Just keep going. You could fill in like this If you like the look, you can do this. So don't panic if you glue something down wrong. That was one of the mistakes I made right off the bat, was I glued one of my cards like this, and I thought, well, you messed that up. And then I thought, wait a minute, did I? Because I didn't exactly mess it up. I just didn't do it the way I intended to do it. But the card still came out fine. I'll show you that one later. So anyway, back to gluing. You can use your focal print wherever you like. I either did the tall, narrow strip or the wider, largest strip of paper. So it's really up to you where you want your focal point to be. You could do, you can mix and match so many possibilities with this. I'm going to show you a bunch of samples, but you do not have to use 4 pieces of designer series paper. You could use 3 pieces of designer series paper, and then the 4th piece could be a stamped image. For example, you could stamp on your largest panel, or maybe this one if that suited your purpose better. You could mix and match designer series paper and embossed cardstock. So you have options. I kind of joke that my tagline is all about the options, because I like to give you an idea and show you all the creative ways you can roll with it. Okay, so our panel is done. Now what we could do is simply take our creative mosaic panel, so to speak, and glue it straight onto the card base. That's what I did with this one. Card looks fine, right? But if you're thinking, yeah, it's all right, maybe a little plain for my taste, guess what? Dress it up. You could, if you have a piece of coordinating designer series paper, add a layer 5 1/4 by 4. I didn't have any paper that really worked for any of mine, so what I did was I took a panel of 5 1/4 by 4 petal pink, same color as my card base, and I ran it through an embossing folder. This is the beautiful pattern embossing folder. It's one of our newer ones that you can check out online at thefaithfulstamper.stampinup.net. Be sure to check out the online exclusive category as well as our last chance category while you're there. You can get things at a discount. All sorts of fun goodies there. Okay, so next, I'm going to glue this panel on. It is up to you how much dimension you want to add to your card base. I'm going to pop the next layer, but if you want to pop this on dimensionals and glue your next layer flat, or pop them both, go right ahead. Do whatever makes your heart happy. Again, all about the options. So make sure your pattern paper is going in the right direction. I wouldn't want an upside down armchair. Didn't have that happen during my Facebook Live, surprisingly enough. Okay, so now I want to add a sentiment, and normally I would do maybe a die cut shape with my sentiment on, but I didn't really talk about it. The Hobby Haven paper is new. It's an online exclusive that's coming tomorrow, which is November 2025. This one has armchairs and plants and books and things, but the whole entire pack of paper has kitchen hobbies and sewing, books, lamps, that kind of thing. So in addition to the paper, you also have die cuts like this one or like this one. So I had some fun experimenting with these. So let's see if I can figure out where I want to put. I don't like that. All right. And then I'm going to use another new product. We have a beautiful new bundle, and I'm a sucker for a small sentiment. It never fails. I end up with a card that I want to use something small. We, in the past, haven't had a whole lot of current stamp sets with small sentiments. This banner sayings is perfect. We used to have teeny tiny wishes and itty bitty greetings, and now we have banner sayings. So lots of sentiments that go together. I love that you can use happy birthday and wishing you good things, or I'm gonna use you're the sweetest and I can't thank you enough. So lots to mix and match, and you can mix and match these with other sentiments as well. Now you can buy the stamp set individually if you like, and this is our new packaging. If you're familiar with Stampin' Up, you know we used to do red rubber. Starting this month, we are actually moving to photopolymer only, and this is our new packaging. So we're doing away with the stamp cases. You can still purchase them from other sources if you want to keep using them. And we also sell packets of the envelopes. So if you want to change over from your stamp cases to these envelopes, you can do that. But we have the stamp set, and you can bundle it together with the punch for a 10% savings. This is our three banner punch. And so I'm going to take a piece of Coastal Cabana and just punch out my banners. So you get 3 different shapes with one punch, and what I love about these is I can pick the one that I want, and then I can put the other 2 in a little dish or an envelope and save them. So have you ever put together a card where maybe you've got the base and you just need to come back later and add a sentiment? I can really quickly dip into my envelope and pull whatever color and size I need to put with the card. So I think I'm going to use that one. So this is probably the one I use the least, so I'm making a point to use it on some projects. So I have Early Espresso ink and my photopolymer stamp that says "You're the Sweetest." All right. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop these on dimensionals, I think. So let me find my dimensionals. I'm going to use mini ones since we've got these banners, and they are small. The regular dimensionals would fit on them, I believe, but it's easier not to have to wrestle the larger ones perfectly positioned. So I want that little banner end hanging off. And then I think I will grab a couple of the larger dimensionals for this. And then, let's see. I think that sign's getting them in my way tonight. There we go. So different looks, same layout card. I can hold them up side by side there. And finishing touch, I'm going to add some of embellishments. Now these are the deer dots. They actually coordinate with one of our holiday sets, which is the North Pole Delivery, I believe it's called, stamp set. It just so happens the colors are perfect to coordinate with this Hobby Haven paper as well. So I think I'm going to use the blue and just add a couple of these to the card front. Now you could add a ribbon bow if you liked. You can do the sentiment and a bow, twine if you're really good at that artful twine motif, which I am not good at. You could add that behind your sentiment piece as well. But there you go. Pretty simple, straight cuts, nothing fancy. And can be simple or stepped up. And of course, I have more designs to show you. So let's get started. I have a whole bunch. This is a design that's really easy to kind of go to town on that. So here is the kind of sewing Hobby Haven DSP sheet, and then the stepped up version is here, and one of those happy accidents, this was the initial card I made. You can see the pieces are staggered with the small and large next to each other. On this one I glued them side by side. I did stagger I did flip the dimensions at the top, but it still works, so I didn't ruin the card. I just had to pivot a little bit. Now, in addition to that layer of embossed cardstock, or instead of, you can add a strip of designer series paper behind your matted cardstock. Here I did a double mat. So I did crumb cake 4 1/4 by 3, And then I used Pecan Pie 4.5 by 3.25 to add an additional just layer of color. So these two, again, similar but different based on the paper that I use, the positioning of the paper, and the die cuts. And here I stamped directly on one of the papers instead of adding an additional banner. Okay, so I have some more. I definitely kept in the same color family for a majority of the cards. Here, again, I stamped directly on this panel. This is another new stamp set we have. I use the, I've lost an embellishment somewhere, Storybook Friends for our Welcome Little One greeting. This is new ribbon that coordinates with that North Pole delivery set as well. I did try a bow with it. It was a little bulky, so I only did it on the one card, but really, really cute and a lot of texture. All right, and then one more card. Again, I used a strip here all the way across the card and that embossed cardstock option I talked about. So I had these two scraps left and then just filled in with embossed cardstock. And I actually used the embossed side and then the debossed side of the same embossing folder. All right, now I mentioned at the beginning a great way to mass produce, and I will get to that in just one second. I forgot about this set. This was where my first mistake started when I was putting together these cards. Again, I put the papers side by side instead of staggering them. And I thought to myself, you know what? You didn't mess it up. Just roll with it. So here are 4 more cards. This is that Jolly Delivery stamp set and coordinating DSP and those embellishments. So you can see lots of different options to make your cards. So I'm going to cover kind of 2 things in one as we go on to the next set of cards. I mentioned mass producing. So what you can do if you want to mass produce it, take 4 pieces of designer series paper. Now you want to end up with all these different sizes, and I forgot to write this down, but if you take a piece of designer series paper that is 2 3/4 inches wide and 4 inches tall, you stack them together, you cut a strip that's 1 inch, and then you cut at 2.5, and that'll leave you with the 1.5 inch piece. And then the other side will be 1 3/4 inches wide, and you just cut at 1.5, and that'll break down into those 2 pieces of paper. And then you stack and shuffle, as we call it. So you would end up with 4 different prints on your, and 4 cards very quickly. Now, it's a great way to use scraps, but you can also do that stack and shuffle. So I wanted you to see that option there. Also, in the realm of mistakes, I made one other mistake, which you're going to see here in a minute. So I decided to do the stamp and shuffle. I put together those 4 pieces of paper, and I was busy, I was talking, I was doing something else, and I made my first cut, and I realized I had cut the paper in the wrong direction. And I thought, well, Jennifer, what a genius. And then I thought, wait a minute, you didn't mess this up completely. You don't have to start over. What I did, because I cut the paper wrong, I just had to pivot the card base to go this way because my prints were running this way. So this next set of cards, you're going to see the results. Now these are retired sentiments and punches, but this filled a gap in my inventory. So these are all pet sympathy cards. I'm going to try to run through these pretty quickly. But since I messed up and my butterflies were going in the wrong direction, I made use of every single piece of paper here using the just horizontal orientation instead of vertical. So again, another set of options. Card full of mistakes, but they were all more happy accidents than mistakes. So, and I put together 10 cards. I did 2 sets of the kind of the stack and shuffle with the 4 different prints. Some of them I could stamp right on. And then the last 2 I'm going to show you as we're getting down to the end. There's another one. So when I got to the end of my paper, these were 6x6 pieces of paper that I was using for my Stampin' Shuffle. I ended up with 2 pieces of 2-inch designer series paper that were left, total of 4. So what I did was I just cut them down to 5 1/4 by 2 and paired them together, added a strip and a punch. And so I really had no wasted paper from these cards. Here is the other one. Again, 5 1/4 by 5 1/4 by 2, put together, covered the seam with a strip. I could have embossed that if I wanted to. I do need to add some embellishment to these. And a quick, I had these laying around my house, so I just grabbed them, stamped on them, and onto the card they went. So lots of different options for these cards. And a great way to use up scrap, make cards in a hurry for any occasion. And hopefully you found that helpful. I know sometimes I ramble a little bit. I try not to, but I'm so grateful that you took time out of your schedule to check out this YouTube video. The videos will be here on YouTube for as long as my channel is active. You can find me on Facebook as The Faithful Stamper. I do Facebook Live videos there on Monday evenings. Those videos are only up for 30 days, but I do a technique video on the same project here on YouTube as well, and they will be here forever. If you have any questions about any of the products you've seen, if you'd like a paper catalog and you don't have a demonstrator you're working with already, please feel free to get in touch. Post in the comments, send me a message on Facebook. I am happy to help you out if I am able. And I love answering questions. I love seeing your comments on the YouTube channel as well. Again, thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy crafting.